So, let's talk about a feeling I bet you know all too well. You are absolutely drowning in data, right? You've got dashboards, reports, spreadsheets, they're everywhere. But do you have that real, gut-level sense of how you're actually doing? Probably not. Well, today, we're going to fix that. We're going to build a system that turns all of that noise into a crystal-clear signal.
Okay, let's kick this off with a number that should honestly be a little terrifying. A recent study found that a whopping 60% of mid-market execs, get this, cannot name the top 3 leading indicators for their own strategy. 60%! That is literally like flying a plane but having no idea where to find the most important dials on your instrument panel. Yikes.
And really, that's the core of what we're tackling here. See, your processes, your systems, they define how the work gets done. But what we're going to figure out today is how well it must be done. And that, right there, is the big shift, from just tracking busy work to truly, finally measuring performance.
So, this whole state of being data-rich but insight-poor, yeah, I call that flying blind. You can feel the motion, you can hear the engines roaring, but you have absolutely no idea if you're gaining altitude or, heading straight for the ground. So, let's flip the lights on, shall we?
First things first, let's get our terms straight. We've got to talk about the 2 main types of metrics. You've got your lagging indicators. These are the results, right? Stuff like last quarter's revenue. Think of them as your rearview mirror. They tell you what's already happened. Then you have leading indicators. These are predictive. They measure the inputs that are going to create future results. That's your windshield, and you absolutely 100% need both to navigate.
Okay, let's make this super concrete. Imagine a sales development rep, or an SDR. Their ultimate lagging indicator, the final result, is closed-won revenue. Simple enough. But you can't just magically influence that today. What you can influence is the leading indicator, qualified meetings scheduled. Makes sense, right? And to get ahead of any problems, you could track an early warning metric, something like percentage of leads touched within 24 hours. Just think of that one as a special kind of leading indicator that acts like the check engine light for your whole process. Each one kind of predicts the next one.
All right, before we go any further, a quick public service announcement. Please beware the Franken metric. You know exactly the one I'm talking about. It's bolted together from 3 other metrics, squared, and then divided by the phase of the moon. And nobody, not a single person on the team, can actually explain what it means. Look, if you can't understand it in 5 seconds, you can't act on it. So just keep it simple.
All right, so now you've got an idea of which metrics you want to track. Awesome. But where do you even begin? I mean, you can't possibly know if you're getting better if you don't know where you started from. So let's talk about the baseline.
So here's the bottom line, plain and simple. Without a starting line, what you could call a time zero snapshot, you've got no story to tell. You just can't show improvement or prove the ROI on all your hard work because you have no before to compare it to. This is, and I'm not exaggerating, the single most important step. And guess what? It's the one most people skip. And you know what? It's actually incredibly simple. You don't need any fancy software for this. Seriously, just pick a day, call it Baseline Snapshot Day, and do these 3 things. 1, freeze your data extracts from your CRM, your finance software, whatever you use. 2, just store them in a dedicated, clearly labeled folder. And 3, for those metrics that tend to jump all over the place, just calculate a simple 90-day rolling average to smooth out the noise. That's it. You're done.
Okay, let me ask you a question, and I want you to be honest with yourself. If your boss walked up to your desk right now and asked for last quarter's true customer churn number, could you give it to them with 100% confidence? If the answer is anything other than a rock-solid yes, if there's even a little hesitation, then you know you need to get that baseline set. Period.
Okay, so you've got your starting point. Now how do you keep from getting completely overwhelmed by all this? Well, the answer isn't more data. It's more focus. It's all about applying a very simple but incredibly powerful constraint. And it's called the Rule of 3. That's it. Super simple. Every single role in your organization should be accountable for no more than 3 KPIs. So what's the ideal mix? Well, you want 1 leading, 1 lagging, and 1 early warning metric. And how do you pick them? Just ask yourself, what input predicts our success? What result proves it? And what behavior warns us when we're in trouble? This one simple rule forces so much clarity. It just cuts through the noise like nothing else. And let me tell you why this works. There was this software team, and they were completely obsessed with call volume. But their sales cycle was still way too long. So they applied the Rule of 3. And you know what they realized? Their most important early warning metric wasn't call volume at all. It was lead response time. So they focused all their energy on that one thing and boom, sales cycle time dropped by 22%. That, my friends, is the power of focus.
Okay, let's start putting all these pieces together. You've got your baseline? Check. You have your rule of 3 metrics for each role? Check. Now you just need a super simple way to see performance at a glance. So, enter the traffic light system. And yeah, it's exactly as simple as it sounds. Green means you're on target. You're within, say, plus or minus 5% of your goal. When you see green, you just acknowledge it and move on. No discussion needed. It's working. Great.
Now, amber, that's your early warning. This means you've drifted about 5 to 10% from your goal. Now, it's not a crisis yet, but it's definitely a signal to pay attention. This is your chance to ask, hey, what's going on here before it turns into a real problem?
And then there's red. Red is the fire alarm. This means you're more than 10% off course. Or, and this part's really important, the metric has been trending down for 3 straight periods. When you see red, you stop what you're doing and you figure out a plan. It requires an immediate, focused response.
You know, this system completely transforms your weekly meetings. I mean, think about it. Instead of painfully going through every single metric, you just put your traffic light dashboard up. You give a quick nod to all the greens, great job team, and then you spend the entire meeting focused only on the ambers and the reds. It's a total shift from just reporting on the past to actively solving problems for the future. Okay, last section. How do we actually make sure this whole system sticks? Because let's be honest, any system is only as good as its implementation. So let's quickly cover a few common traps and, more importantly, how to avoid them.
Here are the big 4 pitfalls I see all the time. First, metric overload. The fix, you enforce the rule of 3. No exceptions. Second, dirty data. Solution? Just schedule a quick monthly reconciliation. Third, ownerless metrics. Easy fix. Make the owner's name visible right there on the dashboard. And finally, alert fatigue, where nobody pays attention anymore. The fix for that? You only escalate the ambers and reds. See, these are all simple solutions to really predictable problems.
So look, if you remember just one thing from all of this, please make it this. We've all heard the phrase, what gets measured gets managed. But that's not the whole story. The truth is, what gets measured correctly, with real focus and clarity, that's what gets managed sustainably. So I'll just leave you with this one last thought. Every single number in your business, every little data point, it's all trying to tell you a story about what's working and what isn't. The only question left is, are you ready to finally listen?